Okay, so in this video, I'm going to hopefully give you a bit of an assist in getting COVAS Next up and running on your PC. I'll be using COVAS version 2, as that is the latest and greatest iteration of this application. So what exactly is COVAS Next? Well, if you go to this particular forum page on one of the Frontier websites, it gives you a better understanding of what COVAS Next does. Essentially, it integrates with Elite Dangerous and also EDCoPilot to allow you to have control over EDCoPilot and your ship using your voice. Being AI based, you also get more meaningful responses back. Cost wise, there is no cost to it at all. Well, there's no cost to COVAS Next. However, if you want to make use of the OpenAI large language models, etc., you're going to have to pay for tokens. It's not a subscription. It's you buy a certain amount of tokens, and they are used to process any commands and responses to those commands via the AI. There is they are working on a sort of a local equivalent to that, but it's very much in development, and I've tried it, and yes, it does work, but it's not as responsive as OpenAI. Cost wise, it's not that expensive. OpenAI, I put in $10 in the February, and after 2 or 3 weeks of playing the game, 2 or 3 hours a night, it was down to about between $7 and $8, if that. I think it was not even, I don't think it had even gone below $8. So it's minimal, the cost. It's minimal, the cost. Anyway, go to this forum entry first of all. Here there are links to join the Discord server, and there's also a link to the GiTHub project where you can download the source code. And I'll talk you through what you need to do with that source code next. Okay, so what you have here is the COVAS Next GiTHub page. This is where you can download the installation files. There's also some readmes about COVAS Next. There's a little video here which is quite useful to look at. Okay, so this gives you a bit sort of a brief example of what COVAS Next can do, and it is brilliant. You can have some, really interesting conversations on those long journeys out into the black, which is quite amusing sometimes. I think I even had COVAS Next creating poetry for me based on what I was doing. Awesome. Anyway, I digress. So I would suggest the first thing you do is go to Getting Started. Click on Getting Started. This will take you through all the steps you need to go through to get it up and running. Really straightforward, no dramas at all. I would certainly recommend you do this. Okay. Step 4. Yeah, this is what I mentioned briefly earlier on. It's using a free version of OpenAI. This is the Google's version. It isn't as good. OpenAI is the one to go for. It is very, very straightforward. Yeah, highly recommend it. No problems there at all. Okay, so start off by downloading the application. So you click on the download link, and as you can see, this version is version 2.5.0, which was released 3 weeks ago. So we're talking mid-May, end of May, start of June. All right, just download that to your PC, and when that's done, you should have in your downloads folder, ignore my junk, That's maybe a phrase I should rephrase. There's a file there. Okay, that's your zip file. You need to unpack that, at which point you will get a folder like this. Now, if you go into this folder, okay, go into the folder first. That is all you get. It's all you need to worry about. If you don't have this file in this folder, then it hasn't downloaded properly. Okay. So I would then copy that folder into a location on your hard drive. For me, I created another folder called COVAS Next, and in there I pasted the unpacked files from the zip file. Okay. Yeah, this is not going to take too long. It's talk amongst yourselves. Okay. You can rename whatever you want. It's not a problem at all. That's fine. And then you can create a shortcut for it in the usual way. And that is pretty much the installation. But most of the there you go. So there it is there now. I actually renamed mine to COVAS Next _v2. That's what I did. So okay, that's my installation folder there, and as you can see, resources and the actual that's the executable you run. So that's getting COVAS Next downloaded and installed onto your PC. The next video, I'll just go through the interface for COVAS Next version 2. Okay, so you've downloaded the COVAS Next zip file, you've unpacked it into a location on your C drive, you've created a shortcut because it's just easier to launch it from a shortcut, to be honest. You've launched it, and this is what you get. Alright, this is the interface. Very straightforward. Command and name, put your command and name in there. Conversation history, continue. Now this will basically, it should carry on where you left off, your last conversation. Your API key. Now this is this is generated by the large language model that you're going to be using. Again, I use OpenAI. Yes, you have to pay for tokens, but it's not a huge amount of cash. $10 that I spent in February, I'm still living off that at the moment, which is cool. Google AI, that's their Gemini LLM. It's free, but it's not very good. OpenRouter is another one. Not tried that. Can't really comment on it at all. The voice activation mode. This is how OpenAI is listening to you speak. I would recommend that you use push to talk. Otherwise, it will respond to everything you say when you're gaming. You know, so if you're shouting at your kids to be quiet, it's going to respond to that. If you're telling your pets to get off the sofa, it's going to respond to that. Use push to talk. It will save you a lot of headaches in the long run. The push to talk key, in my case, I'm using one of the buttons on my HOTAS. Input device, yeah, okay, I'm using voice meter, so it may not be relevant to you, but input device is essentially my desktop microphone, and the output device is my speakers. I just have voice meter, so I'm actually splitting the audio into different channels. All really straightforward. Characters, you can specify what voice you want to use here now. I think this is only available in version 2 of COVAS. I may be wrong. This is like a small bio. Just, you tell it who you are. So I tell it I'm Commander BZ Smith, and primarily an explorer, and my home system is Depoya. And then you can describe who your AI is. Now I've given my AI the name Celia. She's cunning and friendly and relaxed. And by saying she'll keep things professional, she won't use profanities. That's just the way I have it. That's fine. You click on edit, you can change all that. That's cool. Behavior. Enable game actions. This means you can use COVAS Next to control elements of your ship, like the landing gear, like opening up the galaxy map, that sort of thing. You can also allow it to search the web for information behind the scenes, which is really, really cool. Really cool. Action cache is just a local cache. Obviously, that will use up space on your local drive. Up to you. I leave it on. It's not a problem. So this is where you get into the sort of the nuts and bolts of it, of which LLM it's going to be using, which model it's going to be using inside that LLM, and the key. You wouldn't really change this too much. There's no need to once it's all set up, but I would suggest, say, you stay with OpenAI for the LLM. So the speech to text settings, again, I'm using OpenAI. Text to speech settings, I'm using Edge for some reason. I'm not sure why. It works all right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Auto start, I don't do that. I don't, because I'm not always using my PC for this, so leave it as a manual thing. Third party, this is where you can enable integration with EDCoPilot, another fantastic tool, companion tool for Elite Dangerous. If you do enable EDCoPilot integration, I would make sure that you have COVAS Next as the dominant personality. This basically will mean that EDCoPilot, the built-in personality of EDCoPilot will basically take a back seat and let COVAS Next do it all. COVAS Next will read out stuff from EDCoPilot. You do also need to tell EDCoPilot that you're using COVAS Next as well. It needs to be aware of COVAS Next, and I can show you how to do that if it's required. So that's the interface. Once you've got it all configured, you literally just click on Start AI Assistance. Now I get a bit of an error here. I wouldn't worry. Oh, it's not doing that. It's working fine. I was getting an error. It's no longer happening. Excellent. So the system is now ready. The first time you try and use it, it may take a while to respond. So let's just see what happens, shall we? Good afternoon, Celia. So it's a bit longer than for the first time you launch it, but once it's kicked off, it's actually quite responsive.
Good afternoon, Commander. I'm here and ready whenever you are.
Thank you, Celia.
You're welcome, Commander. Just say the word if you need anything.
Well, at the moment, I'm just showing all these lovely people out on the internet what you are capable of. So be nice.
Understood, Commander. I'll keep it professional and charming for your audience.
That is much appreciated, and I'm sure they will appreciate it also.
Glad to hear that, Commander. Let's make sure they get the best experience possible.
Will do.
Excellent, Commander. Just let me know if you need anything else.
Okay, so that's it. That's working. If you don't pay, if you haven't got any tokens on OpenAI, then you won't get this far. You'll get all sorts of error messages. So you need to make sure that if you're using OpenAI, you've actually A, got the API key, and B, you actually credited your account with a certain amount of tokens. Start off with $10 and see how you get on. In the next video, we'll go through the whole OpenAI part of this. Okay, so in the previous video, I showed you how to, I basically showed you around the GUI for COVAS Next, version 2. Part of the process involves entering an API key for to access your large language model. So what I'm going to show you, it relates to if you use OpenAI as your LLM. So step 4 on the getting started section on GitHub will give you a URL to go to. So platform.openai.com. If you click on that, it will take you to a page where you set up an account. Once you set up an account, you'll have access to all these additional sections. Now what you need to do is create a new key. Okay, go for the motions here and give it a name. Just the default project is fine, and then it will enable the ability to create a secret key. Once you've got your secret key, you can copy that, and then you can paste that into, hang on, you can paste that into this section here, main API key. Copy and paste it, and then you're good to go. Okay, I'm not going to make it visible. I don't want anybody else using my key, and that's it. It doesn't mean it's going to work yet though, because you still need to have some tokens. So essentially what you do is you go to billing, and then you can add credit to your balance. As you can see, I've got $7.71 left. It turns out I actually put $12 in back in January of 2025. It's now mid-June 2025. I'm down to $7.71. So it doesn't use a great deal, and it's worth it. It's a far more reliable response. That's pretty much all there is to the OpenAI side of things. Once that's all done, you can leave it alone until your credits hit zero. And when the credit balance does hit zero, you'll notice that COVAS Next will stop responding to any voice commands that you may give it or any conversations you may have. Right, so you have installed COVAS Next. You have created an account with OpenAI, and you've credited it with X amount of dollars, so you're good to go. And you've now put the API key into your COVAS Next configuration in the location here, main API key. All good. You've now configured EDCoPilot integration, and you've told it that COVAS Next is going to be the dominant personality as opposed to the built-in EDCoPilot personality. The only thing that remains for you to do is to go to EDCoPilot, bring up the menu, the settings, go to Ship AI Personality, and scroll down. And there's a section there which tells you for COVAS Next integration requires you have installed and configured COVAS Next, which you have done, hopefully. You then just have to tell it to make sure that EDCoPilot is off as the dominant personality. This means that any vocal responses relating to EDCoPilot will come from COVAS Next and not the built-in EDCoPilot personality. And that is all there is to it. You can close the menu down, minimize that, or in my case I have it full screen on another smaller monitor. Minimize your COVAS Next, obviously make sure the AI assistant is running, and you are good to go. Yeah, pretty much it. So finally, I mean, I've got, some would say I've probably got too much stuff running on my PC when Elite Dangerous is concerned. I'm running COVAS Next, I'm running EDCoPilot, I've got, what's the other thing I've got down here? I've got ED Market Connector, which is another useful little tool. And I also use Voice Attack. I've got the HCS voice packs. So the question, I guess, is can you use HCS voice packs and voice attack if you're using COVAS Next? Yes, you can. I have a different push to talk button for voice attack, but isn't COVAS Next a replacement for voice attacks and HCS packs? Yes and no. It does a lot of what the HCS voice packs and voice attack does and more, but if you want the sort of celebrity voices that HCS voice packs provided, then you're going to use voice attack. If you want to have different voices responding to different types of command, whether it be combat or just systems, whatever, then voice attacks is the way to go. They both have their place in the elite dangerous world, and they both offer slightly different experiences. So I use them both, and it works fine for me. But you know, it's entirely up to you. So yeah, COVAS Next, really, really awesome bit of software. Definitely pay the money for OpenAI to get the best out of it. And it's not a difficult setup. It's a really straightforward setup. If you use the website, and also if you get really stuck, use Discord, because the guys on Discord are really, really helpful. You'll get it up and running in no time at all. Thanks for listening.